if it's the very policeman is sent to kill the citizens that commission. I'm a Catholic. They say, forgive me for the sins I have committed, for what I've done and also what I have not done, because there are some things that not doing also creates trouble for other people. So I believe that the president is responsible either way, whether it is goons who kill people, or it is the policemen or any other, let's say, security officers who kill people. He's still responsible because he's there to protect all the lives in this country. But the other thing which is also so concerning me is I want to tell Kenyans, we do not lack good leaders in this country. Why do you allow someone with a very clear record to show you that, to elect them into power? Because we are going into another election in 2027 or before that. How do we know good leaders? In China, they usually check your alcohol right from nursery school. Before we rush and hear what people are telling us narratives about bottom and the rest, do we really check their background? Background check should be done, and I'm thinking that this was supposed to be done even by the Anti-Corruption Commission to stop such leaders from being leaders anyway. We're also proposing that the next election should take place when people have done some kind of test like psychiatric conditions to see whether you are mentally capable of being head of state. Because there are so many things that raises a concern here. Remember that I heard William Ruto saying himself in the media that he feels the young people who have no jobs because his first job was an MP. Can you imagine? From no experience to being an MP. Then from being an MP, we do not know what he has achieved as an MP. He was assistant minister. Then he was a minister for education and agriculture. What did we see? Not really much to talk about. I remember in Kibaki's government, some of the most performing ministers was John Michuki. John Michuki did something very fundamental. Forget about the issue with standard there, but George Michuki did something we cannot forget. George Michuki made every Kenyan to sit in the matatu with a belt. No one can forget about that. I also remember Professor Nyang' Nyong'o, who is an economist like me. And Nyang' Nyong'o was heading the Ministry of Planning. Look at how Kibaki's economic planning was really well done. I also echo people like Oparanya. Oparanya were also in the issues of planning economics. You could see that during Kibaki's time, those people performed. But the opposite is the case. Ruto has appointed completely incompetent cabinet. He has been running this government with a lot of incompetence, disregard for the law, accountability, and the rest. So all these things could be seen from the beginning. If someone just evaluated whom Ruto was from the beginning, I saw there's another woman who said that they were classmates with Ruto. He used to steal pens and books. So I'm sure if you go to my village now to ask questions about people who know me, you'll get to know so much about me, and they'll tell you the truth. So I'm talking about Kenyans. Please, before we rush, do a background study. I also want to ask media houses, please profile correctly these individuals when they want to run for office. Don't just listen to them sending you their own profile, then you take it and publish it. Go and do background research so that we can be a nation that really evaluates whom they take to office. I remember Americans even came to Kenya, to Kogelo, to check Obama's background and their family background, to check whether there was anything that could stop him from being president. Why don't we do that? For us, we are not having to fly from America. America is 16 hours from here by flight. But for us, Sugoi is 45 minutes by flight. Why are you so lazy to take the 45 minutes journey while Americans are taking the 16-hour flight, which is also costly? By driving, you can take maybe 6 hours. You are in Sugoi, and you can get all the information from there. But not just from Sugoi. Ruto had friends like Jirongo. Did you listen to them during the campaign? Jirongo revealed so much about him. There are some people who talked about how he was conducting his affairs as a family man, as a friend. College, he was in college in USA Nairobi. Who graduated with him? How much do we know? But not just about Ruto. We have to evaluate everybody, even your MP, your MCA, your governor, your senator. You have to do that. In China, for you to get a loan, they even have to check whether you fight your wife, whether you drink and drive, because if you beat your wife, you most likely cannot be able to repay the loan. If you drink and drive, you may cause an accident, so you might not be able to pay back your loan. If they want to promote you anywhere, they talk about meritocracy. Let's go back to the Singapore example. They talk about the issue of meritocracy. They talk about the issue of pragmatism. Then they talk about the issue of honesty. How much pragmatic leaders do we elect? How much leaders do we get out of meritocracy? And Gen Z has talked about the issue of all appointments in government must be through meritocracy. If I was William Ruto, that should be very easy to implement. Throw away the government, dissolve the government for now, and appoint cabinet based on meritocracy. You could just go to Public Service Commission or set up a social, let's say, committee to go interview for him the most qualified people in healthcare, education, economics, isn't it? Among all the issues which are bewildering, and bring them to government. Instead of going with the cronies because they help you campaign, because they help you to campaign, yes, but can they keep in office? No, Gen Z will take him out of office if he does not change this one. So I believe that there must be a lot of things that can be changed and can be done differently.
Now, according to you, which ways can we use to evaluate maybe the background of any leader who is going to stand so that we may know the leader whom we may dealing with in future?
Let me tell you one time. In Ecclesiastes chapter 3, verse 16, they say there's nothing new under the sun. Anything that has come to be has been, isn't it? And it's very clear that there are countries who have got this right. You don't have to go further. Singapore has elected the most qualified economist to become the president. And look at how Singapore economy is doing very well. Do we have to go further? The Kenyan problem now is an economic problem. Why are we with non-qualified economists running the government? The president is a botanist. And let me give you something in parallel. I was Kibaki's economic advisor. So then when we started doing very well, I asked Mr. President, how comes now the economy is doing very well because you're the president, but you're also a finance minister? Why didn't you do these things? Tell me, Professor, you cannot delegate your vision, because he had an economic vision for the country. So when he became president, he then told me, Fred, I also tried to contest 3 times and failed. So the first time I wrote my manifesto, I went to the people, they rejected me. Second time, it didn't work. Third time, it worked. And my age also shows that I was not here to fight small wars. I was actually fighting I was fighting the main war which is bewailing the country. So you can realize that these scripts are already there. If the president wants, next time we are going through election, when we get to that time, the media should go and use these matrices. Compare. If you tell us, I want to make Kenya to become Singapore, isn't it? Why do you ask him, does your CV look like the president of Singapore? If someone tells you, I want Kenya to be like Somalia, okay, then it's fine. We look at the CV which looks like Somalia. Why do you promise us Singapore, then bring for us teams we don't look like Singapore? Does the cabinet of William Ruto look like the cabinet of Singapore? Let's ask simple questions, because we are not here to make very big pronouncements. It's just a simple question. And according to me, I've come up with a model. And this model is called ABC. I've used this model to evaluate even the president's speech. A is assume nothing. So whenever someone is saying something, I was born in Sugoi, just assume nothing. Don't assume he was born in Sugoi. Go and find out with another source to confirm. That's called assume nothing. If someone says I'm an economist, how do you know he's an economist? Why don't we assume nothing to go and check? Like now, if I say I'm a professor, I have 5 undergraduate degrees, why don't you go and confirm that instead of just assuming because I've said it is true? When the president says that he is going to work for the hustler, did we know the president for having worked with the hustler before? Now the president says that he was selling maize, isn't it? But now he says he was actually selling chicken, isn't it? Now he said his first job is an MP. Is selling maize or selling chicken not a job? So you can see that there was very clear examples to know whether he's saying the truth or not. The second thing we call B. This B is called believe nothing. So whenever someone speaks, don't believe them. You have to find another source to be able to confirm whether what he's saying is true or not. So the last one is called C, which is called check everything. So when you want to find out a leader who can lead the country, check his childhood, check his education, check his religious beliefs, but not beliefs to mean that either Christian or Muslim, no. Just check, as a Muslim, is he a practicing Muslim? as a Hindu, does he abide by them? If you're a Catholic, do you live by your Catholic doctrine? But here, we're having a head of state, because the first head of state was Kenyatta. He was a Catholic. It was clear, isn't it? The second president was Moi. He was from African Inland Church, isn't it? AIC. It was clear. Even if you go to his village, you find it there. The third president, who was Mwai Kibaki, was a Catholic. He used to play in Consolata every day. Well known. The fourth president, who was Uhuru Kenyatta, was a Catholic. Well known. In fact, you can even go to Kasarani, their parents were donating land for people to build churches and build schools. But this, our president, do you know his church? Do you know his religion he confesses? He prays everywhere, isn't it? Of course, that's ecumenical, but does he believe on anything he prays about? He preaches in the Catholic Church, he preaches in the ACK Church, he preaches in Pentecostal churches. Any pastor can put his hands on him. So what I'm trying to say here is that we are checking for consistency. We are not saying that one faith is bad. You can even be an atheist, but let us know you are consistently atheist. You don't have to, because the country is religious, isn't it? If you believe on a certain philosophy, are you consistent? Like now I believe on Solomonic economics. I'm very consistent about it. If you believe in the Adam Smith economics, are you consistent about it? So we're looking for a leader can be trusted. Trust is something that is very easy to confirm, in as much as people think you can't. It's just by checking records, checking behavior, checking for consistency, you can tell. So these models exist, but what happens is that Kenyans go by wave. Like you see, to elect Uhuru Kenyatta, it was about the Hague. It was not about Uhuru Kenyatta. Now, the 2022 election, it was all about hustler versus dynasty. But now, who is ruling us? A dynasty who was hiding as a hustler is ruling us now. Both hustlers and dynasties are not happy. He is neither for the hustler nor for the dynasty. So I'm thinking that there's a need for Kenyans also to do a lot of civic education. In fact, one thing under Concerned Citizens Movement, we are advocating and asking for partners to come and help us do civic education. That's why you'll see us launching the Mwananchi Bill. We shall be holding what's called national healing. And in fact, we are going to talk about the issue of de-escalation, because you see now the state and the citizens are at war. Under these conditions, it's very difficult to negotiate or actually come with any solution. How can we be able to de-escalate these things so that people can actually negotiate when they are on the table, but not negotiating in terms of talking about this current situation? We know the solution is there in the Constitution. Gen Zs have given their demands, no need to meet. But we are talking about how can we now start building Kenya from here going forward, where we need to heal the wounds that we have created, embrace one another. But here it's not about tribal embracement. We just mean people have not healed. Like in Mount Kenya, there are people who believe that UDA was a good thing. There are people who believe Jubilee was the way to go. Now, the guys who are in Jubilee, they feel they were right. The guys in UDA were wrong. The guys in UDA feel they were wrong. They misled the people in Mount Kenya. But nevertheless, everybody needs to heal. Whether you are right or wrong, you need to heal. For me, I'm hurt because I believe strongly on Azimio. When I believe strongly on Azimio, I campaign for them. I even lost my job because of them. But in the end, Azimio has not really taken the government. Why? What made them not take the government? So I'm also hurting, isn't it? But equally, the people who took power are hurting because they took power and they are not served Kenya the way they wanted. So everybody's hurting. Our children who are promised big future, they're also hurting. They are completely disillusioned. So how do we heal this nation and say there's a need to hope again? Because you see what? Sometimes we are crying too much that our tears are stopping us from seeing the sunshine or seeing the stars. As one person said here, a very famous Kenyan said this before. So I believe there are options here, but we can still be able to explore our options and take our country out of this very, very difficult situation. And I would tell Kenyans, let's go back to the love of your country. The love of your country, where when you see the national flag, it fills with warmth. My heart was moved by the boy who was shot and was killed, and the policeman left him lying there. And Kenyans took this guy wrapped in a flag and carried him. That is a symbol of nationhood. That's actually was a sign of loyalty In fact, I remember when we used to sing about the loyalty pledge, I pledge my loyalty. So I remember that these are the things we need to start. How much do you love your country? And do you choose people who really love your country, or you're choosing people who want to use your country for their own self-fulfillment? I think for me, it starts from love of your country, and that's how it'll make you love your neighbor. Thank you.
Maybe as we enter the last question, we saw the president now is calling for a dialogue with the Gen Z, whom are really, really serious in a revolution. And yesterday at night, I was in the space. There were more than around 100,000 people listening on the space. Those are Gen Z and millennials. And they said that we don't have any reason to meet President William Ruto, because if he was being interviewed in a national TV television, and he cannot even answer a simple question. Now, what are we going now to sit down to talk with him? Does it mean that the Kenyans, all the Kenyans, have lost their hope in this government?
Yeah, Mercy, first of all, one thing which is for sure is that we cannot live like this forever. So any solution that can bring this to an end will be a welcome solution. The president was given, he gave himself, if not given a chance, on Sunday to demonstrate even a sense of remorse, a sense of concern, a sense of nationhood, a sense of a leader of a country, a sense of fatherhood. But he failed totally, because some questions he answered them is like he was setting his own question. He wanted to answer his own question. The question asked by the journalists who represented the voice of Kenyans. I'm very happy to say the journalists like Joe Ageo, Kaikai, and Eric Latifa, they really did a good research. And they went there with the Kenyan voices. In fact, Concerned Citizens Movement was supposed to give a press statement just to echo out some issues, but after listening to that interview, we saw that all the questions we wanted to ask were asked by those people. So we said there's no need of repeating again, just feeding people too much information repeated. So the president was given a really chance to really demonstrate this too. You know, when someone tells you welcome, it's not just in the words of welcome. It must make you must feel welcomed. I think the Gen Zs didn't feel welcomed to dialogue with him from his talk yesterday. When someone wants to even explain to you, when Gen Zs go for a discussion, just like in the media, he will again set the same question, set the agenda, come with the terms of reference. It won't work. I'm also very clear that we have had so many commissions report, report here, these dialogue reports, none of them have been implemented, and we are going for another one. So if we did implement even the NADCO report, why are we still going for another discussion, which will be done according to their framework? Who is going to pay for that dialogue? And in fact, Gen Zs are saying, we don't want to spend money in any other unnecessary activity. If they agree to enter into a dialogue, which will be given a budget of around 300 million shillings, they would have actually violated the very right they're fighting for. So I agree with Gen Zs. No need. I've told you. Everything there is the manual. The manual is the Constitution of Kenya and government policy document and oath of office. If the president cannot read those things to understand, we can help interpret what they are. But I don't think we need, because he has enough staff who can understand what I mean by the Constitution of Kenya. Everything should be done according to the Constitution of Kenya, the government policy, and the oath of office he took. If he has done those things and finished, then we can dialogue another thing. But before doing those things, why are we entering a dialogue? Yet it's very clear what Kenyans expect of him. I think that they are very right. There's no need wasting time. Gen Zs should just continue putting pressure on the government to be accountable. But I'm asking Gen Zs also to join our movement, Concerned Citizens Movement, not that they become part of it or members, but we are championing amendment of the Constitution, but we need them also to help us champion the thing, do civic education, but also we require them also to give us feedback. What areas could we change also that can help us have a country that will never have to go here again? Mercy, is so painful to see that people are not going to work, kids are not going to school, no one can earn a living today in the CBD, just because we are not happy with the current president. People have been very patient, but I think our patience has not paid. Wanasema pia kungoja sana umiza matumbo. Sasa tumengoja sana, matumbo inaumia. So people need to go back and push the president to do what is needed. Those talks don't matter, because for what purpose do you talk to someone who is lying to you? I'm sure maybe you have a relationship, maybe you have a boyfriend, me, I have a wife. If my wife knows I'm a liar, why should we come to talk so that we can promise me I'll be faithful to her or something? He knows that this is a liar. He'll promise everything and keep nothing. So according to us, we want to see action, want to see execution. Talking does not help. The cabinet is incompetent. Start there. Corruption is an issue. Do it. What do we need to discuss about corruption? Why should we discuss about incompetence? Why should we be discussing about wastages of public funds? Why are we talking about the issue of opulence in your government? Why are we discussing about a bloated government that needs to be reduced? They have suggested even the salaries of employees, of MPs. Why should an MP earn so much that it's so difficult to remove them, yet they are doing nothing? Do you know, even the fact that MPs have CDF, it's so difficult to remove an MP who is incompetent. Now they are laughing at us, knowing very well they'll come in 2027 with money, and again they go back to parliament. Why should we allow them? So if their salaries are lowered today, CDF taken back to structured well to be either office of governor or devolution done properly, it will work. And I'm sure that God has been good to allow Kenyans be more aware about their rights and also how to push and get the results they want according to the prevailing circumstances in the state of the nation. Yeah.
Now, last question for less than 1 minute. Now, Gen Z, they are going to occupy in every street in Nairobi and every country in Kenya. What message do you have for them?
I have a message for them that, first of all, I want to ask God to protect them. I also want them to demonstrate peacefully, express themselves peacefully. Let them not be seen as the looters and the rest. But I can't just ask them like that. I also have to ask the government to ensure that if there's any goon who might come in to injure them, because I've heard that there are some politicians who have planted some goons to also be inside the Gen Zs and attack them. So I want them to be very vigilant. You have to know whom you work with, who is looking like you, who is pursuing the same mission, because some people come to the city for different mission. Don't just follow any mission for the sake of, let's say, mass reaction. Go there, know exactly what you're supposed to do. Don't carry a stone. Carry a handkerchief, carry water, carry your phone. That's all. And asking the government, because Gen Zs are going to carry a water, a phone, and a handkerchief, you also carry water, carry a phone, a handkerchief. With your message, let them carry their message and their placard. Also, you carry your message of peace with the placard. Citizens are going to the streets with placards to send their message of placards. Why are you going with a gun? The gun cannot send the message. The gun will only kill. So I'm asking the government also to conduct themselves well. And last but not least, I'll tell you, Gen Zs, it always falls upon a generation to achieve something significant. US has come at this time to liberate Kenya economically. We are behind you. Don't be desperate, because as I said, in Numbers 21:14, Yahweh never loses a battle. And this battle you're fighting, you will not lose. Because I know very well that's not your battle. So don't be this. If you're fighting your personal battle, you could likely lose. No one fights God's battle and loses. The Bible is very clear with so many examples, but not just the Bible. Even our own life, we've seen so many people who have fought a battle which is not theirs and they have won. So you will win. How you'll win, I do not know. But mine is that may God be with you and God protect you. We want to see that everybody who left their home going to the street go back home safely to their parents and to their family. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Fred Ogolla, for coming and talking with Kenya Digital News. Now, to our audience, we thank you so much for tuning in Kenya Digital News. We'll be coming back with more news. My name is Mercy Blessing.